Welcome to Time Monk Radio Network. I'm Gemini, and we are welcoming back Susan Weed as part of our Health and Wellness series to continue our discussion of women's health. We will be discussing getting up on hot flashes and sleepless nights, but first I'm curious to hear what Meltdown and Green Goo entails. This information is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and should not be used in place of your regular health care. Hello, Susan. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be with you again. We're talking about menopause. We're talking about menopause as metamorphosis, not the end of your life as a woman, not some terrible disruption to your hormones that needs to be corrected, not something that's wrong with you, but a passage to power, the healthiest possible choice that your body could make as you get older. And the three phases of menopause: time out, need to get away, need to take care of myself, need to sort through what's going on. And my body, my psyche, and my emotions are encouraging me to do that. As I said before when we were talking about metamorphosis, the caterpillar does not go willingly. The caterpillar struggles. The caterpillar sees itself as a caterpillar. It doesn't see itself as a butterfly. And so getting a butterfly collection, that is women who are postmenopausal and at least 15 years older than you, that you would like to grow up to be, is a really important aspect for a healthy menopause. And actually, somebody set up a little website of her butterflies, and I hope that more women will do that. Very charming thing. So the caterpillar, struggle though it may, forms its chrysalis, goes into its cocoon. And the people who are, the ones who know about this tell me that, of course, it depends on the species of the caterpillar and butterfly, but it basically what happens is that caterpillar just turns into green goo. Okay, sometimes it's black slime, but green goo, black slime, we get the idea. Things are not as they were. Now, the good news is that we can emerge in any way we wish to emerge, but what we can't do is to pretend that nothing is happening and that things are exactly the way they always have been. Things are not. Things are different. I often ask women to remember what they were like when they were 8 or 9 years old, and to contrast that to what they were like when they were 15. There's only 6 years difference between 9 and 15, and yet for most women, those 6 years are an amazing gulf of difference. And just so, the cares and concerns, the schemes and dreams and plans and hopes and fears that we have as fertile women change as we move into and through menopause, because those are not going to be the same things. Our bodies truly are going through a very powerful metamorphosis. Now, I talked a bit about hot flashes last time, and how hot flashes are the movement of Kundalini through our body. And I described Kundalini as a life force energy, a strong, powerful, direct, and very hot energy that moves through our body. And any woman who's ever had a hot flash will say, yes, it is a very hot energy. You suddenly feel like, whoosh, this heat moving through you. And women all over the world have hot flashes. Some cultures don't have a word for hot flash. But interestingly enough, in those cultures, they have a word for symptoms that if I ask you by the name of that they call it, if you had that, you would say, never heard of it. And yet, if I patiently describe the symptoms, you would say, oh, yes, I know women who've experienced that, or I have. And the same thing in these cultures. If you actually explain about hot flashes, they'll say, oh, yeah, we have that. They just don't have a word for it, like in Japan. But there's not a word for it. Doesn't mean they don't have it. Not having a word for it is more, again, of a patriarchal manipulation than an honest reportage of what is going on with women. So as this energy, this Kundalini energy, moves through our chakras, and chakras are wheels of energy, there are focal points of energy in our bodies, the holdings that we have in those chakras are going to get shaken up by the Kundalini. And the ones that are going to get shaken up the most first are the biggest holdings. Suppose we have a woman who has kept every heartache she's ever had. And she has all of this in her heart chakra, all of this that she saved, all of the pain of her heart. Now, when Kundalini starts barging through there, she gets palpitations. She gets a heart attack. Motherwort, which I talked a little bit about last time, is a wonderful tincture that helps to calm us. It's wonderful for women dealing with mood swings and PMS, and it also relieves hot flashes, cools us down, and its botanical name is Leonurus cardiaca, the lion-hearted. So when we take motherwort tincture, it not only cools us down, helps us out, but it makes our hearts stronger too. Wow. This is one of the reasons why I love herbs. When you take an herb, the side effects are usually all beneficial. When you take a drug, the side effects are usually all detrimental. So, motherwort can help us as we're dealing with our hot flashes, but also, I think, changing the story helps us deal with our hot flashes. Instead of saying, oh, no, it's the end of my life, oh, this terrible thing is happening to me, we go, yeah, I am becoming enlightened. Yes, Kundalini is coursing through my body. Oh, dear, my heart is beating fast. I need to go sort out things in my heart. Here's the woman who has always had everything under control. She's the woman who has lists of her lists. Everything is very neat. Her storage containers are in storage containers. What happens when Kundalini starts moving through her chakras? She gets a headache like nobody's ever had a headache. She better open up, sort through that stuff, and decide whether or not Kundalini can move through there or not. For many women, the place of the greatest holding is in the throat. All those things that ladies don't say, and so you better not say them. All that anger that ladies don't show, and so you better just swallow it. Gets us choked up. I was gardening with my friend Sia. Sia and her husband had been married for close on to a quarter of a century. And he was an art dealer, and I will tell you straight out here that I did not respect the kind of art that he primarily sold. And probably more of I don't understand than his thing, but I didn't. But Sia and I were good friends, and that really had nothing much to do with it until the day she said to me, "We're getting a divorce." I gaped at her, my mouth in the soil, and said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, he had some clients over last night, and I'm supposed to, make dinner and pour the wine and be the perfect hostess, and they were asking about something that he was selling, and I said, it's just a bunch of old barn boards that somebody scuffed up." Really, that's what it was. And then later that night, he turns to me and he says, if you want us to live in this town we've become accustomed to, I got to sell this art, and you can't, be going along telling the truth like that. She says to him, "Darling, you're now living with a menopausal woman, and I find that I can't do anything except tell the truth. I think we need a divorce, and you need a younger wife."
Oh, my.
60 years ago, they used to lock up menopausal women for telling the truth.
Really?
They would say, "That woman has gone crazy. Menopause drove her crazy." Menopause didn't drive her crazy. Menopause drove her to the truth.
I like that, too.
Because if you don't speak up, you can kiss your thyroid goodbye.
Oh.
How many women do you know in menopause who suddenly develop thyroid problems? There is a cure. And it doesn't have to do with taking any herbs. It has to do with speaking your truth, even if it seems disruptive. Because you're becoming a postmenopausal woman, and postmenopausal women need to tell the truth. We count on them to tell us the truth. We count on the postmenopausal women to say, not only does the emperor have no clothes on, but he's got goosebumps. So, what do we do to make ourselves strong enough to experience this as a passage of power when we're not sleeping at night even? Again, we retest it. When we lived on the veldt, when we lived out on the savannah, when we lived in Africa, we had to protect the children against the predators, the night predators, the jackals, the hyenas, the big cats who roam at night looking for things to eat. We needed to keep putting fuel on the fire to keep those predators away. We needed someone who would wake up every couple of hours and do that. And so when you wake up in the night, say, I am protecting the children. Get up and pee. Change. Change your sheets if you need to, and get back in bed. Go back to sleep with a smile on your face. And if you can't go back to sleep, think about Thomas Edison. Do you know anything about Thomas Edison?
I do, yes. Probably the basic stuff.
Yeah, well, tell us a little about him. Like, how much did he sleep?
I don't know that. I assume he didn't sleep much, but
he had a cot in his laboratory, and he was never known to sleep for more than 4 hours at a time.
Okay.
Kundalini is creative energy. When Kundalini is running through you, you do not sleep for 8-hour stretches. Leonardo da Vinci, how much did he sleep? 2 or 3 hours at a time. When we are filled with creative life force energy that does not have to be used to make babies, sleep is out of the question. So if you can't go back to sleep after you've put wood on the fire to protect the babies against the hyenas, write in your journal, make a poem, paint a picture, compose music in your head, or meditate. There are many things that we can do quietly. The worst possible thing that a menopausal woman could do if she wakes up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep is to try to go back to sleep and to tell herself, I'm going to be really grumpy tomorrow because I'm not getting any sleep. I'm going to be just terrible tomorrow because I'm not getting any sleep. You know what? You don't need an excuse to be grumpy and terrible. You can just be grumpy and terrible if you need to be grumpy and terrible. But why not say to yourself, I am altering my state of consciousness by not sleeping. I am learning something about myself by not sleeping. I will need to take special care of myself today because I haven't slept much. We're told over and over again that we create our lives, but we don't quite realize that we create our lives in the small details, not in the big brushstrokes. We create our lives by the stories we tell ourselves about what's happening to us and how we relate to our own bodies and our own changes. The best way that I know of to really keep yourself healthy during and after menopause is to drink nourishing herbal infusions. Now, it's difficult to get through any 2-hour period with Susun Weed without hearing her talk about nourishing herbal infusions. So just resign yourself to it. Any 2 hours that you spend with Susun Weed, you're going to be hearing about nourishing herbal infusions just on the off chance that there's somebody listening who hasn't been listening before and needs to know about nourishing herbal infusions. I do have a course at my online university, the Wise Women University, called Drink Your Way to Health with Nourishing Herbal Infusions. And these are simply nutritive herbs like stinging nettle, oat straw, red clover, comfrey leaf, and linden that are brewed up overnight in a closed container, no heat required, and that we drink throughout the day to give us lavish amounts vitamins, minerals, proteins, and all kinds of phytonutrients. So we don't even really have much idea about what they're doing. We can say, oh, they're anti-inflammatory, they're antioxidant, they're anti-cancer. Lots of good stuff in there. Now, I want to hone in a little bit on what happens when a menopausal woman wakes up in the middle of the night, because to me, it's really fascinating. You know, you're a menopausal woman, you're like in the meltdown stage of menopause, and that means the hot flashes are coming thick and furious. Whew! There were days, you know, it was like I would just get over a hot flash and wham, another one would be on me. So one of the ways I got through it was I got a calendar, and I got a red marker, bright, hot, 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 red, red, pink, pink, red, hot, hot, and then orange, and then yellow. And those days when I would just barely get through one, and the next one would be those are red days on the calendar. And then the days when, you'd have a couple of hot flashes, but then you go for hours with that one. That would be an orange day, and then the days where there was just a couple of hot flashes, that would be a yellow day. Because in my mind, they were all red hot days. But at the end of the month, I could look back and I could go, no, come on. There were 3 red hot days in a row, but then look, get a whole bunch of yellow days. Get a grip. It's not all that bad. You can get through this. So we had various kinds of hot flashes during the day. But you'll note that rarely, when you have those hot flashes during the day, do you have to go and pee. Whereas almost always when you wake up at night with a hot flash, you do then have to get up and pee. And let me tie this together for you and give you some idea of what's actually going on. We talked about the fact that women make 29 kinds of estrogen every day of their lives. But between the beginning of puberty and the end of menopause, they make one very strong estrogen called estradiol. And as that estradiol is not made anymore, the adrenal glands pick up and start making more estrogen. They've always been making estrogen, but now they're making more. And in many modern people, the adrenal glands are stressed. And there's some pretty obvious reasons for that. One of my mentors, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, said that you can overcome any fear except the fear of loud noises and the fear of heights. And the adrenals are very closely aligned to that. You can learn to deal with any stress. You know, hey, people in those circus, you know, people are shooting at them. People are flinging arrows at them, and they're cool and calm there. They have learned to manage that stress. But the only 2 stressors that we cannot ever learn to manage are loud noises and fast motions. And many people live in cities where there's loud noises and fast motions all the time. This puts a continual stress on the adrenals. Or, interestingly enough, people who maybe live out in the country buy a box with loud noises and fast motions, and many people actually keep this box turned on all the time. Of course, it's called a television. And so the adrenals are always kind of feeling like, and then we get to menopause and we say to the adrenals, and I'd like you to do this extra thing. And the adrenals throw up their hands and go, one more thing. Were you crazy? We cannot do one more thing. And so we go to sleep. Now, if anybody says to you, oh, menopausal women have a hard time sleeping, that's true. But no menopausal woman has a hard time going to sleep because menopause is exhausting. Metamorphosis is work. Melting down is work. Sorting through our chakras, moving Kundalini in our bodies is work. It is big-time work. We don't have much to spare. We fall into bed exhausted. As a matter of fact, small survey, I found that over half of menopausal women fall into bed with their clothes on. They are so exhausted. And then something happened outside. A small sound, a clink on the roof, the slam of a car door, the yowl of a cat, and the adrenals, which are a little at this point, say, the sky is falling, the world is ending, wake up, wake up, wake up. One woman said to me, what kept waking me up at night was screaming. I said, you live in a noisy neighborhood? She said, no, it was me screaming. She would actually scream so loud that she would wake herself up. So notice, if you're a menopausal woman, waking up at night, what is happening when you wake up? Is your heart beating fast? Do you feel kind of panicked? Aha! It's actually the panic that woke you up. And then, once you're awake, the adrenals say, oh, I'm so sorry. I see the sky's not falling. The world is not ending. The adrenaline that was made, which closes down the peripheral blood vessels, stops being made. The peripheral blood vessels open, whoosh, and we have the mother of all hot flashes. And then because this was a hot flash that came about because of the adrenals, which lay on top of the renals, add on top of renals, kidney, add renals are on top of the kidneys, we have to go pee. Also, adrenaline modulated hot flashes cause copious and profuse perspiration. As I said, you need to change your jammies. You need to change your sheet. Yeah, that sometimes happens too because of these adrenal modulated flashes that occur during the night. The best herb for strengthening the adrenals is stinging nettle. Yes, let's hear it for our friend stinging nettle. Drinking stinging nettle infusion will help to rebuild, to strengthen, and to calm the adrenals as well as the kidneys, so that you can then wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, that was a hot flush. Pee, come back to bed, and go back to sleep, because you're not drenched in adrenaline. You're still a menopausal woman. All these things are going to be happening to you. And that's the woman say to me, I just went right through menopause, and I didn't experience anything at all. And I say, oh, really? Because you know what that means? That means you don't have enough energy to have a hot flash. You don't have enough life force to wake up in the middle of the night. You don't have enough creative passion to disturb your life. The goal of menopause is not to not notice it. The goal of menopause is to have a good ride, to really melt down, to let go of being a caterpillar, and to prepare for being a butterfly. If you want to learn more about nourishing herbal infusions, I have YouTubes, and you can see me talking about the nourishing herbal infusions, making nourishing herbal infusions, and even harvesting the plants for nourishing herbal infusions if you want to do that. The plants that I'm talking about are common weeds. They're found all over the place, pretty easy to find, but they're also items of commerce, and they're very, very easy to buy. In fact, I find that drinking a quart of nourishing herbal infusion on a daily basis provides me with all of the vitamins and minerals that I need, and I have not taken a supplement of any kind in over 30 years. Nor have my students. My students are supplement-free, and their doctors are telling them that they have rarely seen people in such good health with such great minerals in their bodies. I don't know if you've been following along in the news recently, but more and more we find that taking supplements does not decrease acute disease, does not decrease chronic disease, but causes diseases due to the nature of the supplements themselves, which are not whole foods, no matter what the label says. Nourishing herbal infusions, however, are real whole foods, providing all of the cofactors of the vitamins that we need and many mineral salt forms of the minerals, allowing those minerals to have a far greater impact on our bodies. Now, I've been talking about Kundalini. I've been talking about Kundalini as energy. Now, think about the nervous system as the wiring that the energy moves through in the body. During our fertile years, our wiring is about 110 volt. There's that much energy moving through us. But at menopause, suddenly 220 volts of energy is moving through us. This makes a lot of women feel very nervous, very freaked out. They get a lot of things happening to them because there's so much energy going through them. Oat straw rebuilds the nervous system, allowing it to carry this double charge that we get during and after menopause. Oat straw is nothing more than the grass of the plant that gives us oatmeal. If you can eat oatmeal, then it's perfectly safe for you to drink oat straw infusion. We weigh out 1 ounce of oat straw, put it in a quart jar, fill that jar to the top with boiling water, put a tight lid on it, and let it sit for 4 to 10 hours. Then we strain the liquid off. The liquid's what we're going to drink. Store it in the refrigerator because it is protein-rich and it will spoil if left out on the counter. It can be drunk over ice. It can be drunk hot. It can be drunk with other things mixed in with it. Oh, did I neglect to tell you that oat straw is the herb for sexuality? It is. Remember that I mentioned that some menopausal women say, my libido went south during menopause and it never came back. Oat straw will bring it home, both for you and for him. What oat straw does is quite fascinating. There are 2 forms of testosterone being the hormone of desire in the body, called bound and unbound testosterone. And although women have testosterone, most of our testosterone is in a bound form. That's why when I'm at the gym and doing pull-ups on the machine that takes away 80% of my body weight, I look over there, and that man has a 100-pound weight strapped to his waist, and he's doing pull-ups, right? I'm never going to unbind enough testosterone to get that kind of musculature in my upper body. but his testosterone is unbound. As he gets older, more of his testosterone gets bound up. So oat straw is like the magic elixir for all of us. I think you heard me say before about the woman in Southern California who said, after menopause down there, ooh, it was dry like a desert. She said, think sand dunes and camels. She said, then I started reading New Menopausal Years, The Wise Woman Way. And Susan was talking about oat straw and all this great stuff with oat straw, and it rewires your immune system, it rewires your nervous system, and it makes you really calm. And it's a great herb for sexuality, some of that for me. She said, I started drinking that oat straw infusion, and I got to tell you, down there, it is now an oasis with date bombs and dancing girls.
That's cute.
So each one of these herbs does something special for us. The nettle, the oat straw, the red clover is our anti-cancer ally. No herb has a stronger reputation in terms of helping to prevent cancer than red clover, and yet it's grown for pregnant and lactating cows, so it's an incredibly safe herb to use. It does have one side effect that might give menopausal women pause, however, and that is that it is a fertility herb. And I remember the menopause group at a conference that I taught, and there was a woman there who was 53 years old with a nursing baby. And we looked at her, and she said, yeah, I got pregnant 3 years after my last period. And, we were all like, oh, do not tell us that, please. So some women say, hey, red clover, that's it, because I kind of almost forgot that I wanted to have some children. So bring it on. I want my fertility up here in my 40s. And it can be very, very successful for those women. But for women who don't want to have a menopausal surprise, I would say don't drink too much red clover, maybe only a quart a week. Many people have also heard that red clover is hormonally rich, and that is true. Red clover is in the pea and bean family, and of course that includes soybeans and all other beans, which do contain phytoestrogens. Now, remember that a lot of the things that are happening during menopause are because our estrogen levels are changing. They're not necessarily dropping. As a matter of fact, most of the menopausal symptoms that we get have to do from follicle-stimulating hormone, you remember her, and luteinizing hormone suddenly going through the roof. We can have 50 to 70 times as much of those hormones during menopause as we do at any other time. And if you get blood work to see whether or not you're in menopause, they're not going to look at estrogen. They really can't tell anything by looking at your estrogen. They're going to look at FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone, because a rise in follicle-stimulating hormone is usually a pretty good indication that the woman is in her menopausal years. So, depending on where you are in your menopause, you may want to drink more or less of the red clover, depending on what you want from it. And comfrey leaf. Comfrey is one of my favorite herbs, and I always say that comfrey only affects the skin, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, the bones, and the mucous surfaces of the respiratory system, the digestive system, and the reproductive system. Oh, yes, and it has some special proteins that are very good for short-term memory. Other than that, comfrey does nothing. When I'm teaching down there workshops, in my newest book down there, Sexual and Reproductive Health for Men and Women, gets me out and about and lets me talk about sex. What fun. I walk through the group or the auditorium, and I let people feel my hands. I do run a homestead, and I work very hard with my hands on a daily basis, and people are quite amazed that my hands are soft and flexible, not calloused or roughed. And I say, this is what comfrey leaf infusion, this is what drinking comfrey does for you. It makes you strong and flexible. It makes your skin, your ligaments, your tendons, your bones, and your muscles strong and flexible. It makes your respiratory system, your digestive system, and your reproductive system strong and flexible. Is this what we want as menopausal women? Is this what we want as postmenopausal women? I'll answer for you, yes, this is what we want, strong and flexible. Yay, comfrey. And linden is our anti-inflammatory herb of choice, helping to counter inflammation throughout the body, thus helping us in a huge variety of ways. But, oh, my goodness, once again, our time is up. We'll have to come back, talk some more about Linden, and get our green goo into a butterfly and see what happens.
Thanks, Susan. That was spectacular information, and looking forward to you joining us again.
Thank you. Green blessing.
Thank you, Susan, for taking us on a journey through your connection to the Earth and her green allies. Our next segment will follow up and continue with emergence, Crohn's crowning, what's next, strong bones, hale hearts, and juicy fun. Stay tuned for what is sure to be an interesting discussion. On behalf of Time Monk Radio, green blessings and be well.